Alright guys, so today we are going to be doing CHING number 89 is what we are on. So as always, we're just going to start in with where we left off. The first thing that I have was this really large lot of Stampin' Up! Like stamper pieces. I got these at a yard sale and I paid $5 for the entire box that they were in. I don't normally pick up rubber stampers and Stampin' Up! And stuff like that, but lately when I see it, I have been trying to run some comps on it because there are some that sell, and this lot I sold for $56, so that was a really good sale considering I only paid $5 for all of it. Next item we have was a Philosophy, the micro delivery peel set. I purchased this at a yard sale. It was brand new, still sealed. I'd say I paid about $5 for that as well. And that sold for $49.99. Some Philosophy items can definitely sell well. I like Philosophy, so when I see it, I do tend to pick it up. Next item we have is a brass inkwell. I did win this at an auction. I can't remember off the top of my head what I paid for it, but I know it wasn't much. That did sell for $39.99. Next item we have, I do have a little bit of a story about it, and I'll talk about that. This here was a peacock fan. It was made out of actual peacock feathers, hand painted. Really beautiful piece. These sell really well. This one was actually framed. It was in a frame. The frame that it was in was not in good condition at all. But they definitely sell higher if they are framed. So I did sell this one without the frame because, as I stated, the frame it was no good, basically. Like, I don't think it would have made it to its destination kind of condition that it was in. Anyway, long story short, this item was purchased by someone who lived out of the country, and when it got to the GSP program warehouse in Kentucky, they deemed that they were not able to ship it to the country that it was going to. It was like a banned item. They didn't allow, I guess, animal parts. I mean, it's just a peacock feather, but it wasn't allowed to be shipped into the country. And I'm not sure what country, you know, it was going to, but what happened was the GSP program gave me my money back and they refunded the buyer as well. So neither one of us lost out on anything. It just is one of those things where, you know, they weren't able to ship it to the customer because of their, you know, country's restrictions. So that was an interesting turn of events for that fan. It's a shame. I don't know what eBay does with items that can't go to another country. I don't know if they throw them away. I hope that they don't throw them away, but I honestly don't know where those types of items end up. If anyone happens to know, let me know down in the comments. I don't know if maybe there's like some big sale that like eBay does with like items that weren't able to go to like another country. You know, what happens to them? No clue, but unfortunately that peacock fan could potentially be in the trash somewhere. But anyway, it did sell for $99.99, and as I stated, it would have sold for more had the frame in it been in a better condition. Next item we have is a horse head pillow. This here I got at a fill-a-bag rummage sale. So grand scheme, I'd say I paid $1 for it, and that sold for $39.99. It has something to do with the Korean pop group BTS. Not entirely sure what it had to do with it, but when I was researching it, that was what I was seeing. Next item was a DC Skateboards shirt. I got this at a yard sale for 25 cents. I picked up quite a few skateboarding brand t-shirts at the sale. So 25 cents for that, and I sold it for $25.99. Next item was a vintage from 1984 Sweet Secrets doll. These were put out by Galoob back in the 80s. They were just little plastic dolls, and you could attach them to little jewelry pieces like necklaces, bracelets, rings, stuff like that. And then some of them actually had something inside. I once had a kitty cat one that had makeup inside of it. It had like a little blush powder or something inside of it. So anyway, I found this mixed in a lot of just some random toys at an auction, and I knew the Sweet Secrets doll, what they were right off the bat looking through the box. A lot of the other toys within the box were like McDonald's toys and things that weren't really, you know, worth a whole lot of money. So I ended up getting the box for fairly cheap because people just assumed most of it was McDonald's toys. Anyway, this little piece sold for $35.99, and I probably paid less than $5 for the box of toys. Next item I have was those Lefton mermaids. I purchased these at a church sale. I remember the day I found them. Eric and I were the first ones in the door. Had we not been the first ones in the door, there's no way we would have been walking out with them in our hands, because they probably would have been the first thing anyone would have swooped up. I think I paid $5 for them, I want to say, and those sold for $99.99. Next item did go to a subscriber named Jackie. She purchased this talking cat alarm clock. This thing was really cool. I sold a talking alarm clock already before. If anyone remembers, it was that cow. This one was a cat, and it made like a really obnoxious alarm sound. That sold for $99.99. I did pick that up at a yard sale, and I think I paid about $5 for it. Next we have another item that went to a subscriber named Gay. This was an old handbook. It was from 1908 by a company called Baedeker's. I had one, kind of like a stack of these books at an auction, and they have all sold. I actually just sold my last one, literally, I think it was yesterday. This one here was for London, and they were each different you know, countries and cities and stuff like that, and they had like maps and stuff inside of them. So that came from an auction. That one sold for $29.99, and I'd say I paid maybe $10 or so for the stack of them, but there was another one that I sold for much more than that. It was the one that was worth the most out of the stack. Next we have a vintage sunset. This was a latch hook kit called Textures. It was a beaded wall hanging, so very boho look. Brand new, still sealed. That sold for $69.99. I did pay, I'm pretty sure I paid $20 for that. I got it at an estate sale. Next we have a vintage blanket by a company called Chatham. So this was brand new, still sealed, and it had that like satin trim, the satin trim blankets. I don't know what else that you call them, with acrylic satin trim blankets. I know that they're really popular. So brand new, still sealed. That sold for $59.99, and that did come, I do believe, from a yard sale, and I probably paid about $5 for that as well. Next item came from an auction. This was by LENOX, and this was a Mistletoe Park Village piece. Anything by this Mistletoe Park Village that was put out by LENOX is worth really good money, and this piece in particular was insane. It sold for $249.99, and it's just like a little village piece. It's not like it was some crazy large animated musical piece. It was just these little pieces basically. Anyway, that was just insane. I did win that at an auction. I'd say I maybe spent like $50 or so for it. Next we have, this is from 1977. These were called Micronauts. This was a battle cruiser. This came from the same church sale where we got the mermaid Lefton figures. We got a whole box full of these old Micronauts figures. I think they all sold except for one. I'm pretty sure I still have. And we paid less than $10 for the whole box. And that sold for $129.99. So that was a really good find. Between that and those Lefton mermaids, we made out really great that day. Next item also came from an auction. This was a Joan Rivers jewelry set. It was a trinket box, an enameled trinket box, and there was a brooch on top of it that sat. And then you could remove the brooch and actually wear it. And then when you weren't wearing it, it just looked like a decorative piece to the trinket box. And then inside were a pair of matching earrings. That sold for $69.99, and I'm pretty sure I paid about $10 to $15 for that at the auction. I sold a vintage from 1978 Tomy fashion plates. This is my second time selling these fashion plates. These ones here I won at an auction. I think the last time I sold some, they also came from the auction. I haven't actually found them out in the wild, like at a yard sale or a thrift store or anything. But they always tend to sell and always tend to sell high. This one sold for $59.99, and I think I did pay $20 for those at the auction. Next we have a Tiffany & Company silver picture frame. This was just a really small, like, pocket-sized picture frame. I did win this at an auction. I'd say I paid about $15 for it. It was definitely tarnished. I didn't clean it up beforehand or anything like that. And that did sell for $42. This next item was also one of those Sweet Secrets dolls. So this came in the same box that the other one came in from the auction. This one here sold for $19.99. I sold a vintage perfume called Forever Crystal. That sold for $29.99, and I paid $1 for that at an estate sale. Next item I got at a Fill-A-Bag rummage sale. This was from 1983. It was a stuffed plush parrot in a little plastic bird cage, and when you shook him up and down, he kind of made like a squawking sound. You know how toys were back then. Not the best, not as interactively, electronically great as, you know, they are now, but really I recognized it because I don't know if I had one or my cousins had one, but I recognized it as soon as I saw it. So I knew it was older, and I had never seen one since I was a child. So I figured, you know, this has to be something that is harder to find, basically. And it did. It sold for $39.99, and I probably paid about $1 for that at the rummage sale. Next item was an Ed Hardy for Lisa Frank train case. This was just like a cardboard style case you could put stuff in, basically. I got this at a yard sale. I think I paid about $2 for it, and it sold for $29.99. I sold a, from 1985, the Ewoks. This was a kids children's book. I did get this at a book sale. I'd say, I think I filled a bag at this book sale for $5, and I'm pretty sure I sold every book that I purchased there. And that book sold for $12.99. Next item we have is a Lori Mitchell little chick figure. I got this at a yard sale. I want to say I paid either $3 or $4 for it, and that sold for $29.99. This here is my last Sweet Secrets item, but again came from that same box at the auction. This one here was more of like a play set. It came, I'm pretty sure, Did a doll come with it, or was it just the playset? I can't remember, but it looked like a little handheld mirror, and then, you know, it turned into like a little vanity for the Sweet Secrets doll. Anyway, that sold for $41. I never come across Sweet Secrets dolls. Like, that was the first I have seen them in years. So definitely a harder to find vintage toy in my opinion. Next item was a Bob Mackie cardigan. This did come from an auction that sold for $19.99, and I probably paid about $4 for that. Next we have a Department 56 ornament display tree. So this was like a display stand specifically to put Department 56 Halloween ornaments on. I got this at the same sale where I purchased a ton of Department 56 Halloween ornaments. Oh my gosh, I made so much money off of the Department 56 ornaments. Oop, I got a baby here. Do you want up on Mama's lap? Anyway, this display tree sold for $199.99. Amelia's going to get her hair cut next week. She's biting my fingers. Stop, girl. Stop, Amelia. Okay, so next we have, this person purchased 2 of these Hatchimals that I had. These were brand new, still sealed. I got these from a yard sale. I want to say I paid maybe $20 a piece for them, so $40 altogether, and those sold for $179.98. So I did have a couple, I think I had 3 of those, and they all sold. Next we have an iced tea CD. I got this at a yard sale. I'm pretty sure I paid $1 for it, and it sold for $12.99. I don't typically buy CDs and stuff like that when I'm outsourcing, but there is money to be made in CDs. I'm just not entirely sure exactly which ones are worth, you know, a decent amount. But yeah, there is money to be made in CDs for sure. Next item we have is, this is from 1974. This was Evel Knievel's like girl counterpart called Derry Darling. This was just her jumpsuit. I got this in a suitcase full of like old doll clothes and stuff like that at an auction. I've slowly been going through it. I have sold quite a few things from the case, and this piece here sold for $9.99. So some of it, like the stuff that I was getting out of the case, some of it was worth more than others. Some of it is just, you know, dollars here and there type of thing. Next item was a Lane Bryant top. This sold for $16.99, and I'm pretty sure this came from the Facebook Marketplace. Garbage bag of clothes. I sold a vintage Care Bears plastic cup. I got this at a yard sale. I'm pretty sure I paid about a quarter or 50 cents for it, and that sold for $11.99. I sold a Lush body scrub in the scent Tramp. This came from one of my Lush subscription boxes. I'm not a fan of that fragrance. That sold for $25.99. Next we have a vintage daisy print heating pad. These can sell really well, especially if they have those like retro looking designs to the heating pads themselves. This one sold for $29.99, and I'd say I paid $5 or less for that at a yard sale. I sold an Avon Chic in Black perfume set. So this came with a perfume as well as a little black makeup bag or clutch, whatever you wanted to use it for. That sold for $19.99, and that came from an auction with all the other random Avon stuff that I have listed and sold. So I didn't pay much for that at all. This was a yellow satin like miniature oil lamp, not, you know, like a regular sized oil lamp. And the miniature ones, some of them can sell really, really well. I won this at an auction. I'd say I paid maybe, It was less than 100. I'd say 70 tops for it. I can't remember off the top of my head because it has been a while. But that did sell for $250. So if you ever come across the miniature ones, some of them can sell really, really well. Okay, that crinkling sound is Amelia playing with her toy. At first I was like, oh no, what did she get into? Next item we have was for a little set of, ooh, a cha-ching. A little set of vintage Barbie Pizza Hut type of accessories for Barbie doll. Those sold for $12.99, and they did come from like a bag full of just random Barbie accessories that I purchased at a yard sale. I probably paid about maybe $2 for the bag. Next item was a Marc by Avon perfume called Earth. This sold for $59.99, and I'm pretty sure that also came from an auction during the same day I was buying a bunch of other Avon items. Next we have a toucan shaped brooch pin that sold for $12.99. That came from a random jewelry. It might have been from the jewelry shoebox that I got at a yard sale for $5. Here is another one of those Baedeker's books. This one was from 1913, and this one was the one that was worth the most. This was for Egypt. It's like a travel type of book. That sold for $49.99. I sold a lady head vase by a company called Thames. That sold for $39.99. That did come from an auction. I'm pretty sure it was on a tray of some other stuff that I won. I'd say I spent maybe $6 on the tray. Next we have a set of, it was a sheet set from the 90s by Spring Made. The print on it was called Wizardry. A really awesome 90s type of print to them. Those sold for $49.99, and I actually got those at Goodwill. I'd say I paid about $1.99 or $2.99 a piece for those. I sold a Madame Alexander Mickey and Me doll. I won this at an auction. I think I paid about $25 to $30 for her, and she sold for $169.99. Next item we have was for a lot of 10 vintage My Little Ponies. These came with a vintage My Little Pony stable and a bunch of accessories I purchased at a yard sale. I think I paid $10 altogether. I still have this stable and a lot of accessories that I still need to go through and sell. But all the ponies I listed together as the lot, and they sold for $29.99. Next we have a skirt by a company called For All by JoFit. So, you know, you can use this as like a golfing skirt or like a tennis skirt or what have you. I think I got that at Goodwill on like a dollar day, and that sold for $17.99. Next I sold a Matchbox Hershey's die cast truck. This did come from an auction. I'd say $7 or $8 for that, and it sold for $39.99. Next was a really old gunned Easter bunny. I did win this at an auction. I'd say I paid about $20, $25 for him, and he sold for $79.99. The next two items went to the same person. These both came from an auction. These were older Pokemon night lights. So the first one was a Bulbasaur, and that sold for $39.99. And the other one was Snorlax, which also sold for $39.99. And I think we paid about $4 a piece for those. I sold a perfume by Paul Sebastian called Casual. That sold for $29.99, and that came from one of those lots that I won at an auction on the same day I was winning a bunch of like Avon perfumes and stuff like that. Some trays I was getting for like $1, and some trays I'd say upwards of 10, but they have multiple bottles of perfume and stuff on them. Next item we have is an Ed Hardy belt. I got this at a yard sale. I think I paid $1.50 for it, and that sold for $29.99. Next, I have a lot of 3 Weebles. These were from the 1970s. These actually came in the same box that those Sweet Secrets dolls came in. They were mixed in there. I did sell the baby one separately because that one was selling for more. And then these were the other 3 left over, and those sold for $19.99. Next we have another die cast truck. This one was a Windrush truck for Sinclair Oil. That sold for $49.99, and I'd say we paid about $10 or so for that. Next item did go to a subscriber named Kiara. This was for a miniature bottle of perfume. It was called Ma Liberté. That sold for $8.99. That did come from an auction. At one point I won a whole bunch of miniature sized perfumes. I still don't have all of them listed. I do still have some more to list. Next we have a set of 2 vintage eyeglass cases. One was by a company called Kelly and Hubler, I believe it was. Those sold for $9.99, and they were just on a random tray of stuff I wanted at auction. So not necessarily something I wanted, but it did seem like they were selling, obviously not for a lot, but you know, there are people out there looking for vintage eyeglass cases. Next, I sold a pair of men's Crocs. These were called the Swiftwater style. They sold for $42.99. I did get these at a church sale, and I think I paid about $3 for them. I sold a set of 2 brass. These were by a company called Toledo. These were so cool. They were little hors d'oeuvre picks, but they look like little swords. So stinking cute. I did win these at an auction. I'd say maybe I spent less than $10, I'd say, for those. And those sold for $49.99. I sold a pair of Keen Kids pink sandals. Those sold for $39.99, and I got those at a yard sale. I think I paid $5 for them. Next item was a Craftsman planer and joiner attachment. Eric won this at an auction. I'd say he spent $8 to $10 on it, and that sold for $34.99. Next was this was from 2005. It was a Body Fantasies body spray in the scent Lavender Vanilla. That sold for $35.99, and I got that at a yard sale. I'm pretty sure I paid about $1 for it. I sold an Aeropostale dress for $8.99. This is one of those items I've had for a really long time. I'm pretty sure I picked it up at like a fill-a-bag rummage sale. Definitely not a brand I would ever consider picking up in the future. I just don't feel like there's good resale value in Aeropostale clothing. I could be wrong. There might be something that is Aeropostale related that sells really well. I don't personally know about it. So yeah, just not a brand that I would feel comfortable picking up to resell again. Next item to go to a subscriber named Sandra. This here was a Seraphim Classics angel figure. This came on a tray of stuff again that I won at an auction. That sold for $9.99. I think I got like a couple angel figures that day on a tray. Next item we have is a sack silver kind of threaded crochet purse that sold for $12.99, and I'm pretty sure I got that for $1 at an auction. I sold an owl shell, just like figure piece, that sold for $16.99. That came from an auction. At one point I won like a whole bunch of different owl figures, which I still do have some, I believe, listed, but I did sell a decent amount of them. Next we have an Avon Split Second blush that sold for $19.99. That came off one of those Avon trays from the auction. I sold a mini bottle of Jess by Jessica McClintock perfume for $19.99. That came from the same lot that other miniature perfume came from. Sometimes when I'm sitting down, I get like a lot of stuff listed from the same, you know, lots that I win, and then other times like I get bored with listing the same type of stuff, and then like I skip ahead into some other things. So that's why I kind of like got off of listing my mini perfumes, but I got to get back on that. Next we have a Mighty Beans storage case. This was filled with the Mighty Beans. I think there were 60 beans in there. That sold for $39.99. I'm pretty sure I got that at a yard sale for like $5. I sold a Bath & Body Works lotion in the scent Country Chic. That sold for $19.99. That came from a yard sale. I'd say I spent about 50 cents to $1 for it. Next item also went to Sandra. This here was from 1977. It was a needlepoint kit of a wicker chair with a little kitty cat sitting in it. That sold for $25.99. I'm not entirely sure where I picked that up at. I am assuming a yard sale, so I'm going to say I paid about $1 for it. And the last thing that I have for this CHING was for a little lot of mousetrap game pieces that sold for $11.99. Eric had won a couple of board games at an auction for like less than $5, and he decided to try the route of parting out some of the games, and lo and behold, some mousetrap game pieces sold. So it's not something I personally would put a lot of time and effort into doing, but there is a lot of people out there who sell replacement pieces for games and stuff like that, and I'm sure some game replacement pieces can sell for good money, you know, depending on the game. But it's just not something that I personally really have gotten into as far as reselling goes. So as far as any kind of issues or anything with eBay, I already talked about the peacock fan dilemma that happened. And within this CHING, the only other thing I had was I did have someone return something, and obviously it wasn't anything that I made mention of, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but I know I wrote that when I was putting my CHING together that there was one return. So I like to mention that, and just so you guys know, you know, returns happen, stuff like that happens. But as far as eBay, currently I feel like I say it all the time, like it's going fine. Always seem to be just chugging along. Sales are pretty good, you know, considering all things considered with like inflation and the price of gas and stuff like that. You know, there's people out there who still have tons of money to blow on random stuff. I sold 2 jadeite cake plates the other day, like $400 a piece. So there are plenty of collectors out there that still have a lot of money to blow on things for their collections. I did want to see what my CHING was. I apologize, guys. You might be curious as well. Okay, we sold another car. This is like a little, you guys can see that. There we go. Like a little die-cast car. Eric won a bunch of these at an auction. I say he paid maybe like $5-6 a piece for them, and that sold for $59.99, and it is going out of the country. But yeah, that's pretty much everything for this CHING. I don't really have a whole lot to talk about as far as eBay goes and or eBay issues. Thankfully, as always, knock on wood, haven't really been having any major issues lately. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. You'll have to let me know what you thought down in the comments, as always, how things are going for you and all of that good stuff. So yeah, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.